A reader, Miko, can use her own voice to embellish or distort the tale. Even if there was no cheap trickery in my game, by having a reader, any amount of trickery could be added. Yes, that is true. That's another of the Game Master's privileges. I want to have a straightforward duel with you, so I don't need a reader. You can read this tale with your own eyes and ears. Are you sure? That means you've lost almost all of your advantages. Understood. You don't need a reader. We'll read the tale ourselves. If there is no reader, does that mean there will be absolutely no falsehoods contained in the narrated text? We're ready, Burn Castell. Well, I mean, it'd be the falsehoods by the same standard as the mystery novel thing, right? So usually it says that, one, there can be misunderstandings, but also that, in general, everything should be straightforward, unless it's from the perspective of the murderer. Because the murderer or the accomplice is allowed to lie. So if the person that's the killer, then their point of view, they can actually lie about it. Right? A showdown over a genuine mystery without any cheap tricks. If you're going to play fair and square, we'll challenge you head on too. Thank you. And I don't plan on losing either. No. That's no good, Lady Byrne. She's right. If you're a witch challenging us with a mystery, you can't have an attitude like that. Yeah, it's all useless. Burn Castell, realizing what Battler and Beato were asking for, snorted. Lambda Delta nodded at her, telling her to enjoy this final duel to the fullest. Heh ha 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 ha. What were you expecting? A happy mystery chat between humans and witches? Why am I imagining, like, instead of that face, what if she had did it like the ahagao? Come on, don't make me laugh. Let's see if your cheery mysteries are any match for the one I've prepared. Let's see what you've got. We wouldn't have it any other way. Yes, we'll accept your challenge, Lady Burn Castell, Witch of Miracles. Alright, time to start. I, Game Master Ushiromi Battler, and Beatrice, the Endless Witch, will be your opponents. Don't start crying when we wipe the floor with you. Take this. Here's my mystery. My eyes. Burn Castell took a fragment containing the game and smashed it against the table, shattering it with a brilliant light as the game's scenario laid itself out. The curtain rose on the mystery Burn Castell had created. Okay. No sound but that of the falling rain filled the room. It covered the tragic scene in the bloody dining hall. At some point, Angie had fainted and fallen to the floor. Now her consciousness was slowly returning, forcing her to remember what had happened in this room. So she reflexively averted her gaze even before the memory overtook her. 6 bodies lay in the blood-stained dining hall. Strangely enough, as her consciousness returned, bit by bit the terrifying scene before her seemed somehow less intense. This time, Angie was able to look at the 6 corpses well enough to make out who they were. First, those are my own parents. They're a pitiful sight, colored bright red by a bloody makeup, and lying next to them are Uncle Hideyoshi and Aunt Ava. Uncle Hideyoshi, the uncle who always says funny things and makes me laugh, and Aunt Ava, the aunt who seemed to be so fond of me. Genji, the servant, is lying over there, and the one lying right here is Aunt Rosa. 6 people. A full 6 people had their lives taken from them, and are lying in this room. Maybe I cried myself out before I fell unconscious. The scene before me was still terribly painful, but I was somehow able to look at it without losing my head. I had already felt all the sadness I could at my parents' deaths. The next emotion that rose up inside me was a desire to check and see that everyone else was okay. In that instant, I heard a scraping sound. Just as I was about to relax again, thinking I must have imagined it, I heard the same sound again. It was probably coming from the door. Someone was clawing at the door from the outside. Of course, I had no way of knowing who it was. However, for some reason, I was sure that it was the black cat scratching at the door. The black cat was telling me to leave this room. I understood and put my hand on the doorknob. I immediately noticed something odd. The door was locked. The same bad feeling I'd felt about being locked in the parlor crawled up my spine. However, unlike the time in the parlor, this door unlocked itself easily when I turned the knob. I unlocked it and slowly opened the door. Beyond the door, I could see the dimly lit hallway and a cat dashing down it away from me. Then it stopped, its emerald eyes glittering in the darkness, as though it was waiting for me to follow. The hallway was dark and wrapped in an eerie silence. When the black cat saw that I was coming, it walked forward as if guiding me. I could hear nothing except the creaking of the floor, the bell of the cat, and the sound of the storm outside. The party is being held in the hall. I should be able to hear at least a little of the noise from this hallway. Maybe it got really late, when I was unconscious in the dining hall. It was a reasonable conclusion. Then we finally reached the main hall. The hall was frigid, and no trace of that party remained. Could all of that fun have been just an illusion? The black cat's bell rang out. When I looked up, I saw that it had its feet on the stairway to the second floor, urging me to follow it. "Are you going to the second floor?" The black cat seemed to nod, then silently went up the stairs. Guests were allowed to go wherever they wanted to on the first floor, but the second floor was Krause's family house, and I remembered getting in trouble for trying to go up there. However, at that moment, I couldn't think of any options other than following that cat. I walked along the dark hallway with the black cat. Eventually, we reached one of the doors. The black cat scratched at the door, then turned to look at me. It must have been telling me to open it. "Okay, I'll open it for you." I put my hand on the doorknob and felt the resistance of a lock again. This door is locked. I turned around to tell the cat this, but inexplicably a single key lay right in front of the cat. Angie picked it up, stuck it in the keyhole. As she did, she finally noticed something strange with her fingertips. Blood. Somehow Angie's fingertips had been stained red with blood. She let out a short cry, and the key slipped out and fell to the ground. She finally realized, floor. In the darkness she hadn't noticed before, the black cat's key was covered in blood. Covered with blood. The emotions that had gone numb, and Angie sprang back. A terrified scream rang out through the dark hallway. Even so, Angie would eventually open that door. That door led to Natsui's room. Natsui's room was a terrible mess. Blankets and sheets were torn. Cosmetics and books lay all over the place as though a typhoon had just ripped through it. And there were corpses. Krause and Natsui's corpses lay sprawled on the floor. Very shortly, Angie will step into this room. She will then scream in terror once more. And it isn't limited to the dining hall and Natsui's room. In the stormy rose garden, Shannon's tragic corpse lies exposed. Partway down the path of the rose garden is Jessica's corpse. When Angie finds that, she'll probably dash crying and screaming into the guest house. And death awaits her inside the guest house as well. Just inside the front door is Nanjo's corpse. In the servant room nearby, even Goda and Kumasawa lie dead. The total number of corpses is 13. A full 13 corpses are waiting for Angie. They wait in the mansion and the guest house on this desolate Rakanjima, for Angie exposed to the wind and rain, tormented by thunder, to find them. The first twilight. The tragedy of the first twilight was discovered at 6 o'clock in the morning on the following day. Goda, who had woken up to get breakfast ready, went to check on the adult siblings who had remained at the dining hall since the previous night because of the family conference. Tell us about when you discovered the crime.